It's Wednesday, November 25th. I'm Lucy Steiner.
And I'm Sam Cedar. Which of these stories will you be talking about today?
Joe Biden has tapped 2 more disappointing men to key White House roles. Color us shocked. Meanwhile, Trump hosts a very strange, very low-energy press conference where he rambled about the stock market for approximately a minute and then left without answering any questions. Great stuff from a guy who definitely didn't lose an election anytime recently. And lastly, no court case could ever bring full justice to the disastrous opioid epidemic. But this one is a start. Purdue Pharma pled guilty to 3 criminal charges connected to its flagship drug Oxycontin.
You are listening to Majority FM's AM Quickie, and these are the stories you need to know.
We're very sorry to start this way again, but we have an update from the prospective Biden White House, and it's not looking so great. On Tuesday, Biden nominated 2 very disappointing and potentially dangerous men to key White House roles. First, Biden wants Mike Morell, former deputy director of the CIA, to ditch the former and deputy parts of that sentence and lead the agency. Who's Morell again? Glad you asked. Here's a few sentences about him from an Associated Press article about a book he wrote on his previous experience at the agency. Quote, Morell mounts a staunch defense of 2 controversial CIA programs, brutal interrogations of al-Qaeda prisoners, and targeted killing with drones, unquote. Great. So, a perfect pick to continue leading the CIA into, well, more of those 2 things. The second bad Biden pick might fly a bit more under the radar. The president-elect wants Brian Deese to direct the National Economic Council. This isn't a role you hear a ton about, but it's one where Deese could have a pretty big impact. And his record is also not great. In short, Deese is an executive at a massive corporation called BlackRock, where his job for the past few years has reportedly been to stonewall climate activists from getting his company to divest from the fossil fuel industry. When he worked in the Obama White House, he also supported oil drilling in Alaska and fracking on public land. And these are probably the kind of guys a GOP-held Senate would be cool with confirming. Nobody's saying the Biden years will be as bad as Trump, but at this point, some of the faces involved are looking pretty familiar. Donald Trump is floundering, and it's becoming almost funny to watch if you just hum a little and pretend his legal attempts to overturn the election won't be used by someone smarter in the future. On Tuesday, the president announced a surprise, quote, press conference at which he stood behind a podium and bragged about the stock market for roughly a minute. Then he walked off stage and didn't answer any questions. Honestly, it's possible he just wanted to feel good again. The Dow Jones did climb back to record highs today, but analysts think most of that spike is because of the news that an actual transition of power is underway. So, in other words, it's because the money guys on Wall Street are glad Trump isn't going to be able to further destabilize the country. Trump did get to do one of his favorite activities today and pardoned the traditional White House turkey. The New York Times has a story out recently that claims that's literally one of his favorite bits of being president, which is funny because it's an objectively silly ritual that we still make presidents do for some reason. The bad news for the big boy, of course, is that more states have finished certifying their election results. Pennsylvania and Nevada called it today, locking in 26 electoral votes for Biden and making Trump's already feeble legal challenges seem even more unlikely to produce results. At least his stock portfolio is doing well, I guess. For many, many millions of victims of America's opioid epidemic, the concept of justice is hard to imagine. After so many lives are gone, what possible penalty could fit those responsible? But it's still heartening to hear news of Purdue Pharma paying some kind of price. The giant drug maker, run for years by the openly evil Sackler family, has been under siege by investigations and lawsuits for years for its epidemic-causing distribution of the painkiller Oxycontin. On Tuesday, Purdue pled guilty to 3 criminal charges brought by federal prosecutors, formally acknowledging some of its role in the crisis. We'll summarize some of the Associated Press's reporting on the charges. First, Purdue acknowledged that it didn't have an effective program to prevent its drugs from going on the black market, even though it told the DEA it did, and then gave them misleading information. Second, it admitted to paying doctors to get them to write more prescriptions for its addicting painkillers. And third, it admitted to paying an electronic medical records company to send doctors information on patients that encouraged them to prescribe opioids. The sad but predictable twist is that even with a guilty plea, Purdue isn't on the hook for much. Their deal includes $8.3 billion in penalties and forfeitures, but the company will probably only have to directly pay $225 million of that to the federal government if it settles on its federal bankruptcy claim. And of course, none of the members of the Sackler family who profited from all of this are personally facing charges yet. They've also had to cough up some $225 million in settlements so far, but as yet aren't in sight of prison. The deal does leave that possibility open in the future, though. So there's still hope that at least a few of the family's gilded murderers will get what's coming.
And now, for some quicker quickies.
Quicker quickie.
Professional beef enthusiast Jordan Peterson is publishing a new book, which so enraged employees of his publisher, Penguin Random House, that they confronted management in an attempt to get them to cut the right-wing pseudo-philosopher loose. But Peterson's last idiotic tome sold 5 million copies, so you got one guess as to who's going to win that battle. Meanwhile, an incredibly dumb right-wing goon news, the National Labor Relations Board found that Ben Domenech, publisher of The Federalist, violated labor laws when he said on Twitter that he would send any employee that tried to form a union, quote, back to the salt mine, unquote. Couldn't have seen that one coming. Vice News has a shocking report on one of the most disgusting things the rich are doing in the times of COVID, paying gig economy workers to stand in line for them to get a COVID test, as centers have been overwhelmed in the holiday season. TaskRabbit, the service most of them are using, has predictably said they see nothing wrong with this. And finally, in very silly and probably irrelevant news, election recount officials in Milwaukee, Wisconsin were given wristbands festooned with the poop emoji on Tuesday morning. Officials say the wristbands were given out by the venue, the Wisconsin Center, with Milwaukee County Clerk George Christensen saying, quote, "I always thought it was chocolate ice cream, personally," unquote.
Quicker quickie.
That's it for the Majority Report's AM Quickie today. We're off for the rest of the week, so see you on Monday.